So the topic this week is love. And actually what I wanted to do first was play a video memory of my grandpa talking a little bit about some love definitions, because love is a word and it actually means very different things to people. You can't actually use the word love in a conversation and expect the other person to have the same meaning of love as you do. I'm going to play the video of Grandpa and you can see kind of the breadth of what I'm talking about.
There's 3 different kinds of love, you know. There's the love that is eros, which is sexual love. We all know about that. Then there is love which is phileo, which is friendship. And I reach out and I touch you, and I'm concerned that the best thing in life may come to you as I look in your eyes. And then there is agape love. And agape love is where I love you and I don't expect anything in return. I really want you to see you find joy and happiness in your life. 3 kinds of love.
The way I used to define love was the inability to define myself without the other person. So could I tell you who John Halcyon Stinn was without mentioning my parents? No. My brother? No. If I have a girlfriend at the time, could I explain myself without her? No. My friends? No. That means that I have love for all of them. But it's interesting because as I've learned and grown in my spiritual awareness, at first I thought that meant the definition no longer worked, because I think I learned to feel love for everyone. But then the more I think about it, I'm like, no, the definition does still work. Because the more I understand what self is, the more I understand that I am connected to everyone, and I cannot define myself without the one, the all, without you. So therefore, I love you. That's how I know that I don't have to meet you to know that I love you. I cannot define myself without you. It is impossible for me to understand who I am without including an awareness of you, because we are all connected in one. I guess my new definition of love is when your joy brings me joy. And that's when gifting gets so awesome, because it allows, if you without that awareness, then the only way to give yourself joy is by getting stuff, doing stuff, achieving stuff. And that's exhausting. I'm only one person in the whole world, and every time I have joy, I have to like create it for myself. But if you can get joy from others' joy, then there's like 6 billion, 7 billion people almost, 7 billion opportunities for you to have joy simply by helping them. That's why Burning Man is so magic, is because in the environment of the Playa, when you have 50,000 opportunities to create joy in your life by making their day better, by making their moment better, and then everyone's doing it to each other, it's just this joy-plosion. And some people are overtly talk about it, but some people don't, but it's love. That is what makes it so magic. And that is when you start to get in that swing, you realize that you can actually bring that into the default world. So I want to play a video from this weekend. I gave a little HugNation talk at Venice Beach with the Flow Temple. We all got together. We're going to do it every second Sunday from now until the burn. Hopefully, that's the goal. And this was the first one we did, and it was amazing. And so this is a little bit of the talk I gave while I was there.
Yesterday, that beautiful pink bike up on the ridge there. See that beauty? She's mine. But if you saw her yesterday, you'd be wondering why I was so proud, because it had fur that was on it for several Playa trips, and I'd left it out of the rain this last year, and so we actually were starting to call it Grandpa, because the pink fur had turned kind of white and mangy, and it just kind of it was not a pretty bike, especially next to the other ones that were recently furred. It was sad. So yesterday I took all the fur off, and Dimitri helped me refur it. And during the process of it, well, I should ask first, who here's gone to Burning Man? Okay. This will be my 14th year at Burning Man, so everything in my life, including right now, is really just kind of twiddling my thumbs until I can go back to the Playa. You know what? I take that back. My life is spent trying to make the way I feel on the Playa be a part of life right now. And so when a day like today is so exciting, I'm like almost teary-eyed. Many people come up to a Burning Man and they're like, God, why can't I do this year-round? Why can't people treat this way all the time? Why? You know, oh, it sucks this is only a week. And it's like, it doesn't have to. Back to my bike. So I take this, you know, as I'm redoing the fur, I realized that I need a little screw to replace the chain guard. And you know, go through all Dimitri's bins and boxes in his garage, and he doesn't have anything. I'm like, what am I gonna do? And I look up, like 20 feet away is this neighbor. He's probably in his 60s, grizzled, clearly not a burner. But I'm like, you know what? Walk up to him, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm just wondering if you have any extra spare, you know, nuts and bolts or anything like that. And he's like, let me see. You know, gets in, finds one that's the right size, but it's too long, so he cuts it for, you know, he like cuts it down to size for me, and it was like, and it worked perfectly. And it was kind of like, this is just like the Playa. Had a struggle, went to see a nice neighbor. I got Playa dust on my hands from taking the fur off. A nice neighbor, like angelic thing. Does he have what I need? Of course he does, because the Playa provides, even if you're not even there. So when you start to cultivate that attitude of surrender, of gifting, then that magic follows you in your life. So part of me, when that happened, I was like, that was so amazing! And then part of me was like, of course. Of course.
I think that is a really important tie-in to all this stuff. And that love, that way of seeing the world, that's the way of seeing yourself connected to everyone, that way of seeing every person's joy as a possibility for your joy, is the way to open up your heart, and in doing so, open up yourself to the divine flow, to the cosmic alignment towards agape. And in that space, in that surrender, is when magical things happen, when you can expect miracles, because everything happens as it should. You meet the right people, the opportunities come, the abundance comes, the screw that you need is right there. People tell stories about like that on the Playa all the time, of just unexplainable, impossible serendipity. And the people I know that pursue that type of lifestyle year-round have serendipity in their life all the time. All the time. I think in some ways this moment right now is a good example of that. Whether you are live or listen to the archive, this moment of connection is us surrendering to the flow, allowing ourselves to share a vibration that amplifies it in ourselves and amplifies it from us as satellites into the world. And in doing so, creates a magnet to love. Opens our eyes so that our rods and cones receive and see love where we might have looked past it in the past. So let's have a HugNation hug, and open to love, and open to that connection, and open to that joy. So grab yourselves by the shoulders. Do you feel that? This body? Do you feel that? Ha-ha! Wow. This body that self-regulates and self-heals and breathes and beats my heart. This body that receives so much information and stimulus and sounds and music and colors. And laughter, this body, this terminal to the universe, is such a gift. But this body is just a shell. It's just a spaceship that takes us through the world. It's not what we are. And neither is the shell beneath that, our personalities, our values that have been layered on from the outside. Just like the outside shell, this personality shell is needed. It helps us survive. But it's not who we are either. We know who we are. When we are still, we know that none of those things are anything but constructs, anything but roles that we play in moment to moment, whether that's brother, whether that is Republican, whether that is successful, whether that is loser. What we really are is beneath that layer. Beams of light, awareness itself. The way that the universe experiences itself is through us. And when we remove the filters of our personalities, it's a pure agape love that we experience. And so for a moment, let's open ourselves to that agape and acknowledge that all the people in the world, no matter what their shells make them act like, that beneath all that, they are agape love incarnate too. And that when we can see them as their perfect evolved self, we actually help them become that. We hold that vision, we hold that space for them to become their ideal, most divine, most aligned example of divinity. Without attachment, simply because we know that their joy can bring us joy. At its root, it is a selfish thing. In the same way that we feed our belly is a selfish act, giving others joys can be a selfish act. It fills our heart. So let's take a deep breath. Let's imagine all the people we've encountered in the last week as balls of light. Zoom out and look at the planet as glowing millions, billions of little beams of light in various degrees of shell coverings. But for a moment, imagine there's no shells and it's just vibrant, like another sun. Let's take a deep breath and be a part of that sun. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the love warriors, happy Hug Nation. Thank you for allowing and feeling and receiving and being love. Thank you for allowing the love in your life to grow and evolve, and wishing that love on all that you meet so that their joy becomes your joy. And you have no choice but to make the world and the universe a better place, a more loving place, because it is what you are, it is who you are. Thank you. Namaste.
You only live once. Enjoy the color.